All right, part two, as promised. Here we go. So, really, now that a lot of the structure is in, I start looking for opportunities to add my straight line. It looks like I want to stay with this little part like that. And I'm going to keep going with my vertical lines. All it is now is managing the values. Managing the values. Some of these are darker, like, for example, right in here. This is much darker, so I'm going to hang out there for a while. And it's helpful, too, to do that because the darker I put that, the lighter this little area becomes. Even though this paper is not fully lit, it's not white. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not white, but I could add white to it. That's a possibility. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. I don't know yet. It's like a work in progress, right? I'm just kind of trying to figure out what do I want to do. Yeah. So it has been about 24 hours since I worked on this last, and been an interesting 24 hours. Yeah, there it is. I think it's working fine. Sometimes I find myself, I don't know if you do too, when you're creating artwork, when you're thinking about it when you're not near it. That's really the kind of the fun place to be, when you're thinking about it and when you're not near it, like a new crush on someone, right? You're always thinking about them. What are they doing now? But I have a crush. I have a crush on my wife. Yeah. You hear that, honey? If you watch this, look at that. Thinking of you. They're looking at smaller things, smaller details will really shut me up a while, which could be a good thing, right? I can let the process play out a little more without having to hear me much. Though you could tell already that I love talking. I don't know if it's talking. It's really, I love sharing information of things that I've learned. And it's really, I feel like that's kind of the power of YouTube in many ways, right? In that there's a bunch of people sharing information. And sometimes that information is cool, it's good, it helps you in creating things. Sometimes information doesn't really jive with you that much. And that's good too, learning those kind of things. I don't know how you guys feel about the speed though. It's like there's a restaurant down here that I go to occasionally. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's good. It's a chain. Maybe I shouldn't mention it, but it rhymes with East Cake Actory. It rhymes with that. And the menu is what gets to me. The menu is has got some good stuff on there for sure. You can get a good steak, good Mexican style food, good American style food. You can get some, like shepherd's pie or something like that. You can get all sorts of things. But the menu, oh boy, the menu is dizzying. Like, it's quite a few pages long, and kind of what I'm telling you is like there's so much information out there, and sometimes we feel like what is it that kids call it? FOMO. There's a sort of fear of missing out, and there's a lot of information out there on how to draw things, and it could get stressful, and yet it's so cool at the same time that there is information out there, and I feel like at times you could take it for granted. I think going back to the idea of my age as I'm getting older, I come from that generation where we didn't have internet, and so I think we definitely have a sense of appreciation for all the information that's out there now, because we didn't have this. Had I had to do school all over again today, and here's opinion alert, I probably would not have gone to school for art today. One, because again, there is opinion alert. I think that there is a push in a certain kind of philosophy in a lot of subject matter, but the art world gives it the visual representation of thoughts, of philosophy in our culture, and I don't think I agree per se with what the art world is trying to show. I do like the idea of art being something that a skill we share, right? It's a skill that we share to say something about the world. And to get even more philosophical here, like if we're looking at this car, I'm the quote-unquote artist here that has found this thing to draw out of the plethora, the vastness of things that we can draw. This artist, me, I found this to be pretty damn cool to pick out of. And I've mentioned this before. Imagine life is like a huge supermarket, and there's all these ingredients to make whatever the heck you want. And here I am choosing this ingredient. I saw this car in my daily reality, my daily life. My eyes are feasting on all kinds of things all day, every day. But this car made me stop. And I want to examine, why did I stop, right? This car tells me something about me. And the things that you choose to recreate tells you something about you. Years ago, I was interviewed for a school project. There was a art honors project. I wasn't in the class. It was just the students were told to go look at, find some artists and interview them. And a couple of students from this class at Florida International University, they reached out to me and they were like, yeah, we want to interview you for a class. And I was like, oh, cool, no problem. And I just remember sitting down with them and the sort of little preliminary talking before you get down to the actual interview. And they were kind of assuring me, like, oh, we're just going to ask you a few questions on what what your art is about. And I jokingly said, I was like, well, I can't afford a psychologist at the time. I can't afford a psychologist, so I paint in order to figure out who I am. And I was saying this as a sort of joke, but let me tell you, by the time I settled down and sat down, it really wasn't a joke. It is. There's not a kernel of truth. There's a whole corn on the cob of truth when it comes to why we do some of these things as artists. And this is informing me about me. But what's the value of that to other people? Well, I think in many ways this experience, this life experience that I'm going through here, involved these cars in some way in my youth, and there's other people that too have that similar experience. So in essence, who are my collectors? Who are the people that are buying or consuming your art? Well, a lot of times they're people. These are people that are have a similar kind of life as you, in many ways. Not completely the same, but in many ways that's what they do. So like something that started out as a joke wound up being as true as possible. So what is this work about? Well, I can't afford a psychologist, so it's to learn a little bit more about me. There's a writer that I was a huge fan of in high school. We had to read her works. The book called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, and I was interested in her work, and I found out that she was writing nonfiction as well, and some interesting stuff. Honestly, I think it was some interesting stuff. I recommend. Very controversial, and I could even feel the scoff from some people. As I mentioned this, if anyone, whatever, she's great, I think. And she has she talks about that thing that I've been talking about, where what is this work about? Well, she mentions it, or she coins it, sense of life. When we look at artists' work, we're looking at their sense of life, right? Their sense of life. Like what they found important out of this big, huge supermarket of life. What aisle did you walk down, and what ingredients did you pick up, and what did you make with those ingredients, right? And in this case, this is my ingredient. There's something about this car that maybe there's nostalgia, maybe I want to feel some nostalgia about my youth, which was good or bad or whatever it is, and it makes me think of those things. I suspect too that poetry does the same thing, right? So think of poetry where you don't necessarily have to have everything spelled out for you. You could just have a word that will trigger an idea, right? And images do the same thing, right? A word would trigger an idea. I remember I was in grad school, and I kind of did a list of words for, let's see if I can remember some of the things that I mentioned for explaining my artwork. And I remember I think it was a Sinclair Lewis writing about some of the meatpacking going on in Chicago. I think of Chicago. I think of Bruce Springsteen. I thought of Frank Sinatra. So these are some of the words that I would write down to kind of try to give a sense of like, what the heck is my artwork about? Blue collar. These are just words that I'm throwing out there, but they're triggered. They're triggered. Like they make you think of something, right? So I say blue collar. What does that mean to you? Maybe to you it's something that, some people are blue collar and some people are white collar. But to me, it was very intimate in that, because I come from that. Like I come from a very blue collar family. I come from the part of New Jersey where Frank Sinatra was from, and I grew up watching things with Frank Sinatra in it. So it makes me, again, maybe the best word is that, the idea of triggered. I'm triggered. I hate that it's tied to some weird stuff today, that word, but yeah, it makes me think of certain things. Bruce Springsteen, right? That's another thing. Well, yeah, New Jersey. I grew up in that where Bruce Springsteen is from. And his music was very blue collar, despite the fact that I don't think he has been blue collar for a very, very long time. He's been making pretty damn good money for a very, very long time. So it's kind of ironic, right? The blue collar guy who's ultra rich, but what his sense of life, right? What the songs were about, what the poetry is about. These are all things that kind of make you think. And what is it that makes you think? It's usually a value, like, oh, I like this or I don't like this, right? I can make stereotypes about people that will look at these cars and have nothing to do with it. They don't care. That has nothing to do with their lives. But there might be an aspect to this that will resonate in some ways. Like I think of Cezanne. I mentioned before. I think of Cezanne and his paintings of rotting fruit. Like, who honestly cares about rotting fruit? I mean, even if you're like a fruit salesman, which is one of my first jobs, by the way, thanks to Sal's Fruit Market on Berghain Avenue in 83rd Street. It's not there anymore, but that was one of my first jobs. That's in North Bergen, New Jersey. Do I remember the zip code? 07047. Okay. Sal's Fruit Market. So even if you're like all about fruit, like who really cares about rotting fruit? Like paintings of rotting fruit. And I'll tell you this, it moves economies. Rotting fruit moves the economy. Painting of rotting fruit has moved economies. What do I mean by that? Well, we get on a plane, costs a good amount of money, especially nowadays, to get across the pond here, go from Florida to Paris. It's a long trip. That's a long investment. That's a lot of money. You go there. You got to fight tourists getting all the way to the Louvre to maybe stand in line, pay some more. You got to sustain yourself, so you got to go eat dinner or eat snacks. Maybe you have to pay for transportation. I mean, look at the economy that this painting of rotting fruit will do to the market, and do we really care about rotting fruit? No, we don't. We really don't. But what do we respond to that we got to go see Cezanne's paintings of rotting fruit? There's something there. There's something there. I think that could also be pretty personal to each person as to what exactly it is. Just like, this car, this drawing of a car here, of a Cougar, there might be something personal to you. Maybe this was your dad's car. Maybe this was your car. Maybe, you had your first kiss in that car or something, first date or whatever it is. That's a possibility. But what if you could care less about the Mercury Cougar here, right? What can you respond to? For example, why are you still watching this? Maybe it's not that it's the car, but maybe it's a sort of sense of life that's happening here, or maybe it's the way it's starting to come out of the page, right? Starting to look at it and go, well, I'm responding to that, and it's possible that you are responding to that aspect of the artwork, Also, what the heck is it going to look like? That's another. I mean, it could be a puzzle. It could be a mystery. Maybe you're just like, well, I think of my wife. She loves watching those. I think they're called Hallmark Hallmark movies. Sorry, babe, I'm telling people about that. But you know, she'll just start watching it and forget to change the channel, and she'll just get enthralled to what's happening in these movies, and they're interesting movies. We saw some during Christmas, which were they were laughable, but man, I gotta admit, they caught me a couple times. But what caught me, it's like, well, I have to see what's going to happen next. You know, I think we saw one about a couple gets stuck in a pair of strangers get stuck in a house in the mountains. Did you see it? Did you see that one? Did you see that one? One stuck a house in the mountains, and a big snowfall comes, and you know they find out that they don't really like each other too much, but then they do. And their relatives pass. Anyway, I had to find out. Well, are they going to kiss finally? Are they gonna fall in love? And of course, you know they are. This, the movie is done specifically for that. Those are funny, but so yeah, it could be that you're sticking around looking at this because we want to see what it's gonna look like, right? And who cares about all the blabbing that I'm doing here? Maybe you could put it on mute, or maybe you could speed it up to see what's this gonna look like in a little while, right? That's possible. You can do that. No, I'm not offended. I get it. All right. What else does this need? Definitely the front shadow here, but I'm liking some more back here. I wonder if I can. What if I made it super like a rectangle, so it doesn't just fade away? Is that possible? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's add some more. And again, remember that my rule will be these straight vertical lines. And it's all darkness back here, so it's going to be a lot of hatching. Lots of hatching. So so going back to the idea of art school. See, I get back to all the things that I start meandering about. Going back to the idea of art school. Had I had to do it all over again, one, I wouldn't. I'd probably stop. Hopefully, I would trust my own mind, which is kind of the whole. If you again going back to me endorsing Ayn Rand, one of the things that you get from reading The Fountainhead is how you should trust your own judgment. Trust your own judgment. I do think that I come from a generation, I might be generalizing here and talking poo-poo about stuff, but I feel like we've been inundated so much with information by quote-unquote experts that said, well, no, you have to go to college, or you have to do these things. All experts, all studies say blah, 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 whatever that means. And then you realize as you get older that, well, that wasn't exactly true, that it depends on a lot of factors on whatever it is that I'm talking about. Like, it could be any subject. And reading Ayn Rand was refreshing in the sense that it kind of, you felt kind of like, well, no, I could use my own mind. Again, I'm talking really nice things about my wife today, because that's one of the things that I love most about her, and even my best friend too. It's there's this reliance on their own judgment, and honestly kind of rare to find people that are like that, because we do like to think, well, there are experts that say that I should, I don't know, eat this way, or experts say that I should study this, experts say that, drink this or eat that, and it gets kind of nerve-wracking. And that nerve-wracking, like, it could create that doubt of, like, I'm not sure what to think about anything, like, I always say, is dairy good for you or bad for you? Like, every few months it feels like there's another report. And in the day of information that we are in right now, there could just be an argument for almost anything. And we ultimately have to rely on just our own judgment, and that could be, like I said, it could be difficult. It can be difficult to rely on your own judgment, because, again, you're constantly bombarded with information on sometimes counter to who you are, and so I know I'm talking about art school. Don't worry, I get it. So if I had to do art school over again, meaning if I was 17, 18 years old, man, even teachers mean well, but I would even be a little bit suspect from my teachers. I've learned a few things being a teacher myself. I learned a few things on how I would do things differently had I had to do this whole trek over again at that age. And the first thing I would say for sure is, and this, I'd love to hear what you think about some of these opinions that I have. This one is the first one that comes to me because it costs the most amount of money. I think that idea of sense of life is pretty well developed by the time you're 17 or 18 years old. You kind of know what your style is on things, kind of. It gets refined, but who you are, like your essence, it's kind of there, right? And I think when it comes to art, if you're going to go to art school, man, oh man, this is the number one advice I could give you today, because I wish I followed it. And that is, please look up your instructors. Look up their work. Find them. If you cannot find their work, again, super opinionated here, guys. Super opinionated here. So let's have at it. Let's have this conversation. I might be missing something. If you cannot find their work, well, chances are they're not very active at being this thing that you are training to be. So find their work. I'm going to say 6 times out of 10. Yeah, that low. 6 times out of 10, I think you will find their work. You will be able to find what kind of work they do as artists that are training you. Okay? Once you find their work, let that gut sense of life, that didn't come out right to say that, the gut thing, because it's not really all guts, right? But look at it. Look at their work. Does it do something to you spiritually? Like, do you say, oh, cool? Or do you say, like, huh? What? And that's not a bad thing. That huh and what is not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe the work, it challenges you in some way. And maybe you're interested in that idea of challenge. Right? Maybe your idea of challenge is one that you don't quite know what the work is about, but there's clues in there that maybe you want to figure out. And therefore, maybe that's the kind of work you want to do. I did not go that way. I don't. I don't. I don't. My opinion is life could be short, and I don't. Don't make it too damn challenging for me to go get dressed up and go fight traffic and find a parking spot, pay for parking, and go into a gallery and then look at something and go, huh? I don't want that. I don't have time for that. That's not what I want from my art. I think many times from my art, I want that wow factor. I want that, is the subject matter cool? I say, whoa, cool, like cool car, right? That's a possibility. Not completely a requirement, but that's a possibility of something that I would want. What I absolutely do want, though, is, wow, is this artist skilled? Like, how good are they? I have I would say not rated X story, but it's rated, not safe for work. Well, whatever. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But it all revolves around skill and actually not being very aware at all of the subject matter. I wasn't aware at all. I was just looking at the skill and the way this painting was executed. Beautiful painting. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful painting. I was a big fan of, when I was a student, of Lucian Freud. And this is a painting that is, it was a nude. It was a nude. And I was not aware that it was a nude because I was so enthralled with the way it was painted. And again, I'm not anti-nude. I don't that's not my point. I think that my point of the story is that how long I was staring at a painting of, or genitalia right in front of me and not realizing that it was genitalia. I was just like admiring. If I think of Cezanne, rotting fruit. I think it might be apropos to what I'm saying here. Those rotting fruit. This is Art Basel. So, early 2000s, and I was staring at this painting for such a long time, and staring at this area for so long, and again not realizing what I was staring at. What I was really enthralled with the mark making. Loved it. Loved the art making, the mark making there, and it moved me. Right, it moved me. It was pretty cool. But does the artwork talk to you in a way that you want to continue that conversation when you look up your future instructor's work? That's the first thing I would do. I mean, I would question even if I would go to college, because I was a college professor for a long time, and I have come to the semi-conclusion based on a few factors, whether or not the person that was instructing me was someone that just simply failed at being the thing that they're teaching me to do, and this is the best they can do at this moment. And unfortunately, I did find that in the last decade or so, maybe even more. I found that a lot of the instructors were people that this is all they could do. They could just teach. I was at a party once and I got into a very strange situation with someone. I was talking about the profession of teaching, and this person was a teacher too, and there was alcohol involved, and it wasn't nice. But I mentioned this idea, and I said, I think some of you may know the saying, but those that can do, and those that can't teach, it's gross, right? It's gross to even think of that. And here I am. Here's a teacher telling you this, right? Those that can do, and those that can't teach. And then unfortunately, the gatekeepers for a lot of these schools, and I have experience to tell you this, a lot of the gatekeepers, in other words, people that are hiring quote-unquote artists to teach the classes, have zero clue what art should be, or they have swallowed a philosophy thinking that they know what art is, and they really don't know crap. And people come to them, they're like, look, I have the qualification to teach. And so they're like, oh, you have the qualification? Great. You made my job easier. Here's a class. Here's 4 classes. Go teach this class. Instead of looking at the quality of the person, they only just care about, well, somebody gave them a master's in fine art to go teach a college class. So who am I? I don't know anything about art. This is me talking as if I was the gatekeeper. And, I have other things to do. I have XYZ meeting at XYZ time. So, sure. Hire this person. And next thing you know, these are the people that are teaching future generations of artists. And we don't know their skill level. We don't know their sense of life. We don't know anything. And next thing you know, they have a job for practically forever, and they, quite frankly, suck. And I've had a few of those. Where it's like, are you serious? Like, you're teaching me? Like, I could do this way better than you. That's happened to me. Now, mind you, a lot of my training was at the Art Students League in New York before I went to college. And because I kept hearing my whole life by experts that people who go to college do better in life. You're right. I would like to challenge that, to be honest with you. And so I was learning great things at the Art Students League. I studied with Peter Cox, Mary Beth McKenzie, and Sherry Cammey. I remember at the time my hero was an artist named Harvey Dinnerstein. And we had a fire drill once, and I wanted to take a class with him so bad, but you just couldn't get in. He was so damn popular, and long flowing beard. That was a beautiful beard. You just look him up. He was great. And I remember we were going out in this is a story of where I felt kind of awestruck. We were going out. This fire drill in New York City, coming out of the Art Students League, and I'm walking down the steps right next to Harvey Dinnerstein. And I'm young and I'm impressed. I'm like, oh my God, it's Harvey Dinnerstein. I got no one to tell that to because I didn't have friends at the time there. So I was just like, oh my God, do you guys know? Oh wait, yeah, you're taking the class with him. Oh my God, but this is Harvey Dinnerstein. Oh man. So I learned a really good place, and then I went to college. And again, I'm not going to poo-poo my college experience. I'm going to poo-poo my decision-making for sure. But I went to quite a few schools, and I met some good teachers. I've had some good teachers. I have absolutely had some good teachers. And I'll even name them if you want, because they're still teaching. They're still teaching, or they're still really involved in the art world. And they were thought-provoking. They pushed you. A few were like, really, dude? Like, really? Like, who the heck gave you this job? And how come you've had it for XYZ years? Like, come on. So getting back to the idea of if I were to do art school again, I personally think that YouTube will do a much better job at teaching. And you could find people better on YouTube. You could find artists. Look, put it this way. Here I am blabbing, talking, and drawing. In essence, this is a class. This is a class. You're seeing. I'll stop once in a while and talk to you about what I'm doing here, but you already know that at this point I'm just filling in these lines. I'm sticking to the parameters. So that's a lesson right there, right? The parameter is I'm going to just use vertical lines for my shading here, for my values, right? And that's all I'm doing. So in essence, what you're experiencing right now, this is a class. This is very similar to the way I have been teaching in the colleges. I can't do it too much here in this place because we don't have that much time. But in essence, this is a class. How much is it costing you right now to just sit there and listen, right? Compare that to tuition at some of these schools that are just disgusting in how much they charge. So if I were to do art school again, I would get a lot more. Right now, as things are, I probably get a lot more value out of just YouTube. And there's quite a few other sites out there. There's great sites. New Masters Academy is a great site. Proco is a great site where you can learn. You can learn on your own. You can learn for a modest fee compared to colleges and universities. Heck, even the Art Students League. I remember I was there in 1999. 2000, 2001, yeah, right around that time. If I remember correctly, I was paying some silly amount, like $140 a month or something like that to go and study with the artists. And these were artists. These were not professors. And again, not poo-pooing on professors because I am a professor myself. But these were people that were practicing artists and making extra money at teaching, or just giving back, giving back to their hard-earned knowledge, and they wanted to share it. And I'll even do a little stereotype with that. Almost the older the artist, the more I think respect I had because they weren't necessarily doing this for a paycheck. They were doing it because, hey, they're just older. They have experience, and they want to share this stuff. It's one of the great aspects of the Art Students League was definitely that. And there was all kinds of artists there, of course, too. but you could tell the ones that, like Harvey Dinnerstein, for example, like how the class was so full because there was a recognition of the fact that this person has a lot to give. I think Max Ginsberg is another one, right? Who, oh my God, I would love to sit in one of his classes. In fact, one of the reasons I love where I live. I do. I love Florida. Great weather. It's a little bit more relaxed here. It's getting New Yorky in some ways, and I think we're getting some culture here, art culture that is, we are Art Basel world here, so there's that art world that doesn't necessarily speak to me completely. So yeah, we have some culture here, but one of the things I miss about living up in the Northeast is exactly that. I would totally be in a Max Ginsberg class right now, because I know he's got a lot to give. And there's quite a few teachers up there still, amazing information up there. So, which brings me to the next point. All right, you don't want to do YouTube or some of the online platforms on learning, and you want to go somewhere, yeah, okay. But again, I would look up the person, and I would literally just right now, if it was me doing it all over again, I look for artists that I respect, and I would text them. I would email them. I will figure out a way. Are they teaching somewhere? When do they teach? Because at the end of the day, no one has ever asked me for my damn degree in art. No one has ever asked me. Well, I lie. Only when I'm teaching in other colleges, they ask me for a degree. But none of my collectors, anyone that's ever bought a work of art from me, has never once asked, wait a minute, what did you get in 2D design? What was your grade in that class? Oh, no. You didn't do that well? Oh, okay. No. No one has ever asked that. What has always been the power of the art is the art itself. Is the work good? Does it speak to someone? Right? If it speaks to someone, good. And as a teacher, well, if you created that situation, how can you pass that along to a budding artist? Right? How can you pass along that information of like, hey, look, this is a work of art that has merit. It has a, to be crass if you want to think of that. I don't think it's crass. I think it's part of life. It's is it marketable? Right? Can you make a living at doing that? Is this work of art? Does it have that possibility to attract someone that wants to own it, have it? Where they wake up in the morning and they walk past it and they look at it, or the ultimate compliment is if they have it in your home and they commune with it, right? They sit in front of your work and they kind of just meditate and talk to it in their own way. That is probably the most incredible compliment you can get as an artist. People want to live with your work. And it's not just decoration, right? It's not just, it's not about looking good on next to the couch or the drapes, which is part of the whole, one of the gripes I had with working with interior designers. I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. Does it look good in the room? And it would infuriate me because it's like, wow, okay, there's art as decoration and there's art for the spirit. And I really don't think they're the same. I don't care what anybody says. And we can have that debate as much as you want. Because there is some vacuousness. Although, we could still have skill, which we could still respond to in any artwork. Skill is the mother of all of it. Is it fun to look at? Right? Not does it look good in this Miami lobby of some kind of posh hotel? Get the hell out of here with that crap. Although, I think of something that I learned not too long ago about William Bouguereau painting of the nymph and satyrs, super debaucherous painting. I'll see if I'll find it and post it here while I'm talking. It was hanging at I think it was what bar was it? Waldorf Astoria Hotel, was it? At the bar before Prohibition. And it made sense because it was like a kind of debaucherous painting. All right? It's the nymph and satyr, the party animals, and it made sense to be in that context, right? At a bar in one of the greatest hotels or renowned hotels in the world, right? So yeah, kind of contradicting myself a little bit there. I'm looking at the painting. I'm looking at my drawing here. There's a huge glare, but I could see it clear. So if if I shut off that light, let me see if I can shut off that light. So I can get rid of some of that glare, and I can see a little cleaner. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I'm enjoying some aspects of this, and I'll leave it soon. This is part 2. We're about 50 minutes in, and I'll make this a little darker to kind of this. I want to make this darker to maybe balance this whole darkness back there. You know, sorry, my brain is trying to formulate stuff here. When do you know you're done with the artwork? And I definitely got to tell you, in my career, that's one of my struggles as an artist. It's like, when do I know when I'm done? And there's... I remember sending away for a drawing instruction set of videos and DVDs, when DVDs were a thing, by one Anthony Waichulis, the Ani Art Academies. Fantastic system for sure. I can't tell you, I'm going to totally just gloat here a little bit. I'm going to boast here. The amount of money I've spent on learning in my career, I think, is like astronomical. I have spent so much on instruction through actual art. I mean, actual schools, which to me was the most expensive and probably the least return on investment, was the colleges. A waste of time. Although I probably wouldn't be in the spot that I'm in right now had it not been for the stupid little piece of paper that says that I'm qualified, which this says you're qualified. The work itself, not some stupid piece of paper. That's just for those left-brain administrators that need that information. You know, the lawyers and the administrators and that need to check off some stupid box for whatever. That's their lives. I get it. I'm not poo-pooing on them because hey, they're the ones that tend to have the money to buy my work. So I get it. This is the service that I do in life, and you provide some service, but oh boy, do you sometimes go overboard with your stupid rules. Very opinionated today. Or really, I'm disopinionated all the time. But I've spent so much money on seeking artists and asking them to teach me. I've done it for many different, I've done workshops with some great artists. I've done send away for DVDs and book. Oh God, you got to see my library. The amount of books that I have, yikes. And they're, every single one of them totally worth it. I was talking about Anthony Waichulis because in his language of drawing program, I believe it's called, totally worth getting if it's still around. There's an exercise, a few exercises that you do that really taught me that idea of like you could push this way more than you're used to. It's where you're putting values down on a values that are mixing. So you have a charcoal pencil and white pastel, and you have to mix them on a gray paper. And you know, we could do a cursory mixing of them, and they look kind of gray, and it's fine. But no, they're not. It takes a lot longer than you think. I'm talking a lot longer. to get it to a really beautiful state of beauty, of it being gorgeous. And I learned it through that program where I just kept working at it and working at it and working at it and working at it, and you just keep going. And at a certain point, the black and the white pencils will finally begin to layer upon each other and mix to a point of kind of like wow, kind of to the point of. And if you see a lot of and go, I'll probably put a link somewhere. Go look up the I think it's the ANI Art Academy, ANI Art Academy, and I think they're around there's a few locations around I don't want to say the world, but in a few islands, I believe. But the training is legit. That's worth way more than any damn college and supposed degree that you think you need, because not necessarily your fault, but your parents have been hearing the same thing from quote unquote experts, and society has been telling you that you got to get a degree. I'm not anti-degree. I think just make sure you know what you're doing when you get a degree. Make sure that it actually makes sense. But in the art world, it's all about the art. It's nothing else. How good are you? That's it. How good is the work? Period. The work is good, and you send out portfolios to whoever you want to be employed by. Should it be gaming or animation or anything like that? Hey, it's not where you went. Although where you went, sometimes they have good professors there that will prepare you. That's what they should do. I always use the same example of should you go to air conditioner repair school, you better hope that the person you're paying has had every experience they can come up with to teach about air conditioners. Right? You better hope. Should I put my name here, or is that too cheesy? Yeah, it's cheesy. You better hope that they have experience. And we demand that, right? Heck, you want to learn how to be a surgeon? Well, damn it, it better be a surgeon that's teaching you, right? They better have had experience. You want to learn whatever, how to cook? You better hope that person was a chef, that they know how to do this thing. Why then, why is it not the same in the art world? And it's one of the things that I say that the art world, since the really 1960s, all thanks to Duchamp in the early 1900s, have really been pushing an agenda that is just freaking weird to me. Who cares that it's weird? But it's just anti, I don't know, any sense. It just seems like they're more concerned with who does the artwork as opposed to what the artwork is. It seems that way. I mean, I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, but it just seems like that's been the trend for a while. Like, it's more important that the person's identity is XYZ than just the work itself. I think, guys, I think I'm gonna go a little darker here. So, if you made it this far and listened to my opinions, I appreciate that. I really do. I really appreciate that. It's not easy. In today's day and age, I know that it's hard for me to sit through, some great artists out there that I follow as well, and sometimes I just like, dude, I don't have time to listen to you completely. So if you listen for 5 minutes or 4 minutes, I'm grateful for you. If you listen to the whole thing, My gosh, did I pay you? We must be friends. And even then, right? It's like, John, shut up already, huh? And that could happen. That has happened. It's like, shut up already. Yeah. So there's that sound. Oh, I almost heard it. The sound of that pen. So you could keep working this. I mean, look up. I'll tell you what. As far as the ballpoint pen artwork out there, that is so much fun to look at. First of all, one of my all-time favorites is France Van Stone. Because again, I think it's the idea of sense of life, and in her work, I see things that I'm attracted to as far as subject matter. There's a similar sense of life, like cars, music, people, and she's awesome. I would give her a follow for sure. Look her up, France Van Stone, aka Wagonized. She's fantastic. One of my go-to favorites to just go, just look at her work and be inspired and be like, wow, like that. I could hear her talk forever too. There's also talk about taking pen work to a level of beyond mastery. We are not related, but his name is Nicholas Sanchez. Look him up. Nicholas Sanchez. Like, oh boy, look at the way he handles ballpoint pen and just in his sketchbooks. Just fantastic. Again, mastery, complete mastery. And there's a whole host more. I mean, Paul Heaston is another one who's also just same idea. Like, I love his choices of subject matter. Pulling over, he's driving around, and I think he's in Denver or in Colorado somewhere, and he pulls over and when he sees like an old car that he likes, and he'll do it right from his car. He'll draw right from his car, which I love. Oh boy. When I grow up, I want to be like Paul Heaston, where that's what I get to do all day, every day. Just drive around and find really cool places to draw. He also has done them with coffee shops. And again, I don't know if you guys have seen my website. I hope you do. I hope you go over to my website. You'll see that I too have this little affinity to coffee shops. I used to work in a couple of coffee shops in New York City. And I would paint at coffee shops. Now, Paul Heaston would draw there, and they're fantastic drawings. I can't emphasize that enough. These people are great. You want to learn? Well, go follow them for sure. Right? Follow them. See how they create their works. And what is it? Steal Like an Artist, like Austin was Clear. Clear. I forget the author's name, but it's a great book too. It talks about stealing like an artist. Just learn from everybody. But Nicholas Sanchez, the way he would take that idea, there's that. I'm starting to get that Batman thing. You see that? That's what I was after. That's it. That was the Batman thing. He takes that idea that I was talking about with Anthony White Chulis, where this exercise where you think you're done, but oh man, you could keep going. And same here. I'm just not going to go that far right now. I could. I should, maybe. I don't know. But I'm going pretty far. Pretty far with the pen. But I kind of like this look. I like the little quote unquote unfinished kind of scratchy, shall we say that? Scratchy look. I even have a bunch of mistakes here. Like what I mean by mistakes in ballpoint pen is that they start to bunch up the value, the line. You see these lines that are just being created here? They kind of start to bunch up because of the way the pen goes onto the paper. But we are about an hour in. I think, folks, I'm going to put my name on this. I'm going to put my name right here. All right, there it is. I'm going to call this finished. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you got something out of this crazy guy talking. And really, reach out. Let's continue this conversation, because in essence, that's my vision right now with you guys and the world, the life. I just want to have a conversation. You know, I just want to have a conversation. I just want to talk. Right? I just want to talk and share information. Let's share information. You guys share with me. I like to learn some things. You know, I definitely threw out some information out there that could be a little definitely opinionated, and I like to continue. Let's have a debate. Let's talk. Let's do this, folks. Let's do this. And let me shut off. Let me shut off some of these lights because it's just taking away from this. I am drawing on pink paper, so I wanted to do that on purpose because I wanted to see. Let's put a light on there. No. I wanted to see if how the blue would come off the. There it is, off of this pink. Okay. Thank you for hanging out. Until the next time, my friends.